This one bread recipe will make 3 different types of breads. A regular white bread, and some pizza boat French bread, kind of herby bread, and some cinnamon roll bread. This recipe was adapted from the Joy of Cooking cookbook, and I just changed out using some shortening for some avocado oil or you could use lard, but I will leave the full recipe in the description for everybody as always. Hopefully it will work out fine. We'll see. Get my yeast. Half a cup of sugar. 3 cups of sifted flour. Don't skip this step. So a quick tip that I learned is sifting your flour before baking helps achieve a lighter, airier, and more consistent texture in your bread. 1 package of active dry yeast, which is around 2 1/4 teaspoons, basically. 1, 2, there we go. Tablespoon of salt. I'm gonna give all these ingredients, mix them all up together. Oh, I needed my other whisk, my other attachment for this next step. We need the other whisk because we gotta beat this into a batter type consistency. Once we get all this combined, then we're going to add water and oil. I did forget to mention that this bread recipe will make 3 5x9-inch loaf pan breads if you just wanted to make bread with this recipe. Beat this for 2 minutes. So here we go. At medium speed. It's going at a medium speed for 2 minutes. After the 2 minutes, to add 1 more cup of sifted flour, 1 beaten egg. Okay, so add another cup of flour and the egg. Do this for a half a minute and then turn it up and beat it for 3 minutes at high speed. Now the high speed. So after the 3 minutes, I'm going to be adding 3 more cups of sifted flour, and I'm just going to do this right here on a floured surface because this is where I'm going to be kneading my dough anyway. Now that all that is left to do is to add your dry flour to your batter. And I'm just going to scoop this up with my spoon here and put it in a bowl and give it a quick mix before I turn it onto the surface and just knead it for about 10 minutes. This will still look pretty runny until you knead this for a few minutes, and then it starts to come together quite quickly. And you can tell that your dough is pretty much close to being ready when you stick your finger in it and it bounces back like this. It's about done and it's ready to proof. Now all that's left to do is to add a little bit of oil to a bowl, work it around, and then put a cover on it and let it sit until it is doubled in size. Once it's doubled in size, I'm going to try to separate it into 3 even pieces, and I'm just using my hand here and flattening it out. So after I get it cut into 3 pieces, I'm gonna start off by making the cinnamon roll dough first, and then setting the other 2 aside until I'm ready in a bowl, and then just cover it so it don't get dried out. Now with the cinnamon rolls, I'm just going to pat it out with my hand and then get a rolling pin and start to roll it out. I'm also going to be using my cast iron pan, and I'm not being too particular about how even or uneven this is. I'm just trying to get it flat enough to put my sugar, vanilla, butter mixture on top. So I've got about a half of a cup of brown sugar and about a tablespoon of vanilla with about 3 tablespoons of butter, softened butter. And then I'm going to put about a teaspoon or however much you would like into the mix as well. And then I'm going to spread it all nice and even onto the dough. And then you just roll it up and then cut it in whatever size cinnamon rolls you would like. Now I'm going to set this aside and let that rest until that has doubled in size and get started with the others. I greased 2 bread pans and I'm just going to flatten the first one out with my hands and then roll it up really tight and then put it in the pan, and then I'm going to smush it down, seam side down, and then let this rest until it is doubled in size as well. Now with the herbed bread, I'm going to be using some onion powder, garlic powder, chives, and I'm also going to be using some cheddar cheese as well. But you could put whatever kind of seasoning you would like into this bread. Like if you wanted Italian seasoning, put some Italian seasoning in there. This is just what I wanted to put in there on this day. And I'm not like rolling it out or anything. I just put it all in there like a little pocket, and then I'm just kneading it for a little while to try to evenly distribute it around. So, I mean, it don't have to be complicated. You don't have to make it complicated, and a lot of people do, but that's how I made this. And I just did the same thing as I did with the other one and just pushed it down, and then I'm going to let it rest until it's peeking over the edges, and then I'm going to cook these at 400 degrees for 15 minutes, and then I'm going to reduce the heat to 375 and bake for another 25 minutes. And when those are done, I'm going to put our cinnamon rolls in and cook those at 400 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. Both of these breads turned out just fantastic. And one way you can tell if it's done is to tap the middle, and if it sounds hollow, then it's done. Or you can use a thermometer, but I like to do the tapping method. So after the cinnamon rolls are ready to come out, I'm gonna let them cool for probably about 10-15 minutes, and then I'm gonna put a very simple glaze on them, which I'm just using some powdered sugar and milk with some vanilla. And I'm not really measuring, I'm just putting little bits at a time until I get the right consistency. I just want something that I can spread on, drizzle on there, not spread, on the cinnamon rolls. So I wanted to show you guys this white bread, how it turned out. And this turns out like this just about every single time that I make it. The only difference with this time is I used avocado oil, and it turned out just as soft, but I do prefer the lard. So this is the bread that we made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into like French bread pizzas. Oh, that smells so good. So I'm just using the basic ingredients, some mozzarella cheese, some pepperoni, some bacon bits, some onions, and I'm going to be using some of my homemade sauce. And this is how the bread turned out. This bread was so good. I mean, for this particular recipe here, everybody enjoyed it. There was no leftovers. This was one of the best pizza boat recipes that I've made so far. And the nice thing about making these is that you can freeze them. You don't even have to cook them first. You can freeze them, like flash freeze them in the freezer, and then pull them out and cook them when you're ready. Because you know how they sell those French bread pizzas in the freezer section at your grocery store? You can make your own. Just about anything that you see at the grocery store, you can make yourself and put in the freezer too. I cooked these at 425 for about 15 minutes until the cheese was nice and melty, and then I topped it with more cheese. And this is it. These were absolutely delicious. I hope everyone has enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. And I hope that everyone has a very blessed day. Take care.